Man, why did I pick to watch The Walking Dead? I hope this gets better soon. Oh, here we go.
Hello and welcome to Chompt Down Reviews. My name's Ben, and this is going to be a breakdown of AMC's The Walking Dead, a show that has disappointed me time and time again. And let's get this clear, I don't hate this show, but I think a lot of people give it undeserved hype and ignore its problems, and that's what I want to talk about. And there's been a lot of drama behind the scenes that people don't know about, and I'm going to get into that. So spoiler alert, but it's been 6 years, come on people. Now I figure you probably either love or hate this show, and I promise that this review will have something that both camps can enjoy and learn from. But first, let's get our guest on here. This week, we have the spirit of the librarian that was summoned from a fake psychic from down the road. That was not cheap. At all. And how this ghost works is she possesses a paper-filled object. She absorbs its contents and then talks about it with me. Please don't ask questions. And man, do I have the perfect book. The Walking Dead Compendium, Part 1. Hello, is there anybody in there?
Yes, I am here, and I have been filling myself with the pages of this graphic novel, and there's just so much pain.
I love the comics. After the show came out, me and all my friends read these and absolutely loved them. There's a lot of character and story in this book with great art, and it's really worth a read. But definitely not for kids. And while I'm gonna focus on the show as a whole, I just want to use the librarian here for reference.
Oh, I do love references.
The first 6 episodes of The Walking Dead was a fun ride, especially the first time I watched it, because it did a really good job of hiding its secrets. Ones you can definitely solve, but they are well done. There are surely some flaws in this season, surely, but you can see the time and effort put into this show throughout. A majority of the first season corresponds with the comics, except for the last episode. You can really feel how the series tries to show you the story of the characters changing first, and the post-apocalyptic zombie show second, which the creator of the comics, Robert Kirkman, talks about in the prelude of the comics, is the most important thing to him. One thing this show really has a handle on is tone, and you could really feel that this show is just the comics being expanded upon. There's a lot of really great sets starting from the very first scene, which is really creepy, but is also a huge lie. I have no idea why this little zombie girl would pick up a teddy bear. When else do you see zombies pick things up? One other time specifically I can think of for the entire rest of the show, and it looks really dumb there too. These zombies don't think, as we learned from the show. Their brains are essentially dead except for the core instincts, and the show constantly tells us over and over that they do not think like normal people. But the show starts with a little girl zombie picking up a teddy bear. For what reason? Well, at least she has good makeup. All jokes aside, Greg Nicotero does a great job on the look of these zombies, and you can tell he's always trying to switch things up. After 6 seasons of always improving and creating, he really deserves some commendation. The story focuses on the character Rick Grimes, a police sheriff of a small town in Atlanta that takes a bullet or two and goes into a coma, only to wake up into a world where zombies have really destroyed the system. And this start may remind you of another movie, but I think it was done more of an homage than a hack copy situation, because 28 Days Later came out only a year before the books, and it was really popular. And I'm sure it had some inspiration on Kirkman, especially since he credits the movie for being the reason why the zombie craze broke out.
I really enjoy the character of Rick Grimes.
So do I. In fact, I enjoy a lot of the characters, and it's one of the things that has kept me watching the show. Andrew Lincoln's performance is pretty damn fantastic.
Do you think they portray Rick's character well?
A majority of the time, for sure. I think they've made some mistakes.
Carl!
But overall, the show does really well at capturing the character from the book. When Rick wakes up from his coma, I love the way he wakes up thinking he's in a different time than he was. It's really spoops. And I like the way he has trouble adjusting to the light outside, especially with the way he can't tell that zombies aren't just real people. After Lil Dwayne clocks him in the head with a shovel, we get some exposition from his dad Morgan, who is a very well-written character right off the pages from the book. And you will be waiting and waiting for him to come back to the show, because for some reason, he thinks he'll fare better by himself with just his son, who is constantly terrified, than with a trained sheriff who is looking for a group. When they go to Rick's police station to stock up on guns, we see a big motif for this show with Rick shaving. Showers and water are always used to represent renewal, but with Rick, it's always whenever he cleans up his face, he refreshes himself and becomes a more human version of Rick, and we will definitely see this again. We also see the motif of Rick having to put down people who he thinks are careless. But between these characters, we get some really good moments.
You gunshot. We got a little bet going. My boy said you're a bank robber. Yeah, that's me. Deadly as Dillinger. Kapow.
And we aren't sure if these are the only people still alive for a while, until we see the eventual group that Rick will meet up with that has Rick's family living there. What a coincidence. This is one of those surprises. The show leaves hints, like 1 or 2 hidden pictures, but never just comes out and tells the audience that this is his family until he sees them. And that's something really cool for the audience to find out, with all the secrets that come with that. And here we have Shane, one of the best characters on the show, and who goes from being Rick's best friend to a real adversary. And this guy's gonna be playing Frank Castle, the Punisher, in the new Daredevil season, and I cannot explain my excitement for that. I think this show does a really good job of portraying Shane and Rick's relationship. Just like in the book? Exactly. With them being best friends and Shane kind of saving his life, but also leaving him to die and telling his family that he was dead.
Oh, and got busy!
With Rick's wife? Why you do this?
Sit down before you fall down.
But before he can find out that his family's alive, he goes into the city like an idiot and turns his brand new horse into mush. Rick barely escapes into a tank, and after almost getting a whole bunch of other people killed by drawing attention to them, Rick finds out that there's more people alive. We meet Glenn and Andrea and a bunch of other zombie meat. We also meet our first 2 characters made just for the show, T-Dog and Merle Dixon, who make it very clear this show is going to play around with race by throwing around the terms taco vendor and the N-word. Is AMC even allowed to do that? That's weird. Hey, it's okay. He gets in trouble with the law. He's a bad guy. Hey. And we see that Rick is the kind of cop who will brutalize anybody, no matter the color of their skin, if you get in the way of him getting back to his family. After playing dress up with the zombies in the rain, taking joyrides, wait a second. I've seen that car before.
Bonfire!
The crew escapes and meets back up with the larger group stationed at a quarry, where Rick meets his family, and we get a pretty touching moment, really. Andrew Lincoln is just such a good actor. I love how much we find out just from this shot alone. We can see Rick's ignorance of the situation between Lori and Shane. We can see Lori's shock and anger at Shane for lying, and disbelief that Rick is even alive, and just look at the conflict on Shane's face. This is good stuff right here. Good actors in a well-directed scene. More things in this show should be like this. Then we meet Daryl, the automatic favorite of anyone who watches this show for some reason. Mostly just the badassery. Daryl is Merle's brother, and someone's gonna have to tell him that Merle got left behind. After Rick cuffed up Merle for being a racist twat, T-Dog dropped the key down a drain. And T-Dog shows a lot of character here, wanting to fess up to the situation, knowing how racist Daryl probably is. Then, The Walking Dead starts on one of their favorite things, by making Rick choose between his family and doing what's right. Then it starts on one of its other favorite things. Lori not only tells him not to go, but then volunteers him in front of everyone to go back to the city to get the guns and Merle. This is the first time we're going to see her do something that makes no sense and then get mad at someone else for doing it. Well, maybe not the first time, but this trip does have a cool new group situation that tries to be badass but is really just protecting elderly people. And the ass monkey guy from Bruce Almighty makes a cameo to get more stuff forced into his butt. Like, really, dude, that's your thing? I'm not gonna judge you or anything, but that's really fun. And while they're on the way back to camp, everyone's constant foreshadowing leads to the camp getting attacked. No, in this scene where no one's talking and nothing's happening, and the girl who's only had lines this episode excuses herself to go to the bathroom, then they get attacked. Who could have seen them getting attacked after a full minute of just everyone eating around a campfire, and then someone excusing themselves to go to the bathroom? Why else would they show us that? And yeah, just stand there. Don't try to fight them off or anything. Don't move out of the way. If there's a zombie next to you, you legally have to let them eat you. It's like tag. That's the rules. After we kill off some side characters that we just made important this episode and send off the side characters we're too scared to kill off because, family, the group heads to the Center of Disease Control for refuge so that the crew can sleep well, eat good, and get rid of the other minor characters we don't need. I feel like T-Dog and this completely unnamed lady were definitely supposed to have a relationship, but instead it's just awkward and never explained. I think they were going to be related or together, but AMC thought having the only 2 Native Americans on the show being related would be racist. Either that or they just had a moment because they were the only 2 black people in the group. Because this literally comes out of nowhere, between 2 characters we have never seen talk before. Maybe it was just her passing the torch, symbolizing how this show can only have 1 black main character on the show at a time. If you could call her a main character at any point anyways. And yes, this will happen more than once.
So aside from the heavy overtone music montage, in the countless silent stares between characters.
Okay.
Anything else you want to hate on the show for?
Look, I don't hate this show's first season. I actually think it's pretty good. I need to know if they both shotgun themselves, which of them had time to write this on the wall with blood. Anyone? For a show about zombies, which has been done in movie form a million times, but now it's just way longer, and I was really into this show when it first released. But after this season, the show got gutted. See, a lot of the cast was brought to the show by the director of the first episode and writer of the first season, Frank Darabont, who was mentioned earlier, and the director of a lot of classic movies, Green Mile, The Mist, Shawshank Redemption. Frank had always wanted to make a horror film, and Kirkman, believing Frank cared and understood the comic books, allowed him to make it into a series, which is one of the only reasons this show got made. Frank was dedicated to making a great adaptation, and knowing that it would be a high-cost show, brought his friends on as cast and crew to save money. And this is where most of everyone in the show came from. You can almost see all of the secondary characters in the movie The Mist. And these actors took legitimate pay cuts to be on the show with Frank. But after season 1, Frank ran into some issues with AMC, and let me put it like this. The first season was only 6 episodes long, and even though one of the episodes was basically not in the books, they had 6 comics to base them on, which is a pretty good ratio. 1 comic to 1 episode. After season 1, not only was the budget for the show cut by 25%, but they more than doubled the episodes in the season from 6 to 13, and basing them off of only, wait for it, 3 comic books. Yes, 3. So, season 2 is twice as long, based on half the source material, with 3/4 the budget. Pretty bad. After a lot of fighting, Frank had to leave the show, and was basically suddenly fired. And he's come out and talked about it more now that his contract is up, but AMC fired him because he couldn't destroy his show like they wanted him to. It's pretty sad, and it really shows in the following season, which we will get into next time on Chompt Down Reviews. But honestly, this season has its merits. It has great character moments, really good makeup, and a really good handle on its tone. It's a season that not only leaves you wondering what will happen in the next seasons to follow, but it's a self-contained story by itself. They portray Shane and Rick's relationship really well. They give us some cool and really gory deaths, and show us some pretty bad patterns that will follow in the 6 seasons to come. I give season 1 of The Walking Dead a B+, because I'm gonna do letters now, because it seems more fair to give them letters than numbers, which are weird because numbers aren't really real, and I don't know, it's just really strange. I'm just gonna give them letters. So, what do you think about The Walking Dead? Am I being too harsh or going too easy on the show? Let me know in the comments, and keep an eye open for part 2 coming soon. These projects might take a while, but I'm gonna get them out as fast as possible with some quickies in between, especially Deadpool coming out very soon. So please like and subscribe as always, and I hope to see you very soon. Later.